is Ushnota Paul. Welcome to Market Makers. This is where we have interesting conversations with people from business and finance. The union budget was presented recently, so today we are going to talk about how to rejig your investment strategy and plan taxes with respect to the budget. For that, we are back with a part 2 of our interview with Mr. Kartik Jhaveri, the director at Transcend Capital. Also, do watch till the end. We have something fun related to taxes coming up. Welcome to the show, Kartik.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So, Kartik, first, let's start with the burning question in everyone's mind. What has changed for the salaried and business individuals as per the new tax regime?
So in the new tax regime for all salaried persons, up to 7 lakhs of income is going to be without any tax. You will get a tax rebate. That applies to business owners also. So in a sense, 7 lakhs is going to be tax-free income. You can think about it in that fashion. For a business person, you can opt to get into the new regime, but then you will never be allowed to go back to the old one. For the salaried person, you can switch forth and back as many times as you want.
Okay.
In addition to that, there is a 50,000 standard deduction that the salaried sector of our society has also got in the new regime.
Okay, great. So a lot of people had this query regarding the income tax rebate limit being extended to 7 lakhs per annum. But under the new tax regime, earnings between 3 to 6 lakh is 5%. So would you please explain to the viewers what this means?
So what that means is that let's say from 3 lakh to 6 lakh, the tax rate is 5%. 5% on 3 lakhs is basically 15,000 rupees of tax. So suppose your income was say 6 lakh rupees. The tax calculator in the income tax return would say that your tax is 15,000, but there would be a corresponding deduction under, or a rebate rather, not deduction, rebate under section 87A, which will kind of nullify that 15,000 of tax for you. So therefore your tax will become zero. It applies all the way up to 7 lakhs.
Got it. There's also a rise in the annual standard deduction, like you were mentioning. It was 50,000, now it's 52,000, which means a person earning 15.5 lakhs or more will stand to benefit by 52,500 rupees. Could you break this down for us in detail?
So the breakup is like this. You see, the deduction here earlier in the previous regime was applicable to salaried employees, but that same was not carried forward into the new regime. So that is point number one. Point number two is that in the new regime, now they said that just to make it on par so that they can rationalize it for everybody, they have introduced this 50,000 rebate. So the rebate on your standard deduction, under standard deduction, is 50,000 rupees. So whatever your income is, 7 lakhs, 8 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 12 lakhs, the rebate that you're going to get is 50,000 straight.
Right, got it. So now I think all our viewers would definitely want to know this. Do you feel one should move from the old to the new regime? Is that a better tax saving option?
Now, that's a very, very tricky question. Like we mentioned a few minutes ago, that the salaried person can switch forth and back, the business owner cannot. So from a business owner's point of view, one has to be very astute in calculation of tax, whether you want to offer yourself under the new regime or not. You can continue in the old as long as you want, right? So at the cost of sounding repetitive, I want to say that every year one will have to calculate what are your circumstances. For example, do you have a home loan? Are you paying interest on that? Are you claiming the interest deduction under Section 24 as an example? Yeah. Then are you, paying for medical insurance for your parents, or are you just paying for yourself? And if for yourself, how much are you paying? Then are you sort of doing some investment under Section 80C? Do you have some insurance premiums or PPF or something like that you're doing? Are you doing NPS or not? So you see, what will happen is everyone's situation is going to be a little bit different. Even for the business owner, how much was his revenue less expenditure and how much was his profit? So based on every year's calculation, you will have to sort of evaluate which one is working out better than the other for you. So now the thing is, there are lots of tax calculators which are already floating around for us, and there are a lot of generous people who've made it. And I think you can freely Google it and you'll be able to download a handful of these calculators. But do this thing. If you already are working with a chartered accountant, then I think your life is simpler to that extent, because he or she, your accountant itself will tell you which way to proceed. So there is no straight answer for this. that this is better than that or that is better than this. But I think it's a calculation every year which you'll have to figure out, especially if you're salaried, you'll have to figure this one out and then take it from there.
Right. Because a lot of viewers would be considering moving to the new regime. Is there something that they should keep in mind before taking that call?
I know the new regime is a very simplistic procedure. A lot of people would like to move to it, and especially all the new entrants into the world of, employment and salary and all of that would automatically choose because that's going to be the default one. A lot of them may not even know that there is a different regime that exists. So should you do that? Yes, you can do that. It's simpler, it's cleaner, it's nicer. And eventually, even at a 15 lakh salary, the difference is not like such a huge one that it could break your wallet. So the difference at different levels of deductions and all that, we did some calculations and all that. So even if I, for example, look at a 15 lakh calculation and assuming you've taken all the deductions, the difference would be anywhere in the range of maybe 7,000 to about 15, and at some places even 20 or 25,000 between one regime to the other. So they've also done all the mathematics. The government has done its bit, and therefore they've presented you with these numbers and these tax slabs and all of that. So based on that, even if you do not worry too much about the old regime, just go into the new one. Don't have to bother about investments. Just use whatever cash you have, spend it, use it the way you like, invest the way you like, have a freewheeling ride. Then you can go to the new regime, and you don't even have to report anything to the company. The declarations don't have to be made every year in January and February and things like that. So you can have a pretty easy, smooth, return filing experience. And that's, I think, the endeavor going forward.
Right, right. What did it mean when the finance minister said that the new tax regime will be the default regime? Can I still follow the old regime, or will all taxpayers eventually have to move to the new regime?
So I have a view on this thing, but first I'll answer your question. You see, that is what the government is asking you to do. Yes, they are asking you for everybody to move into this new regime. Okay. And when they say the default regime is when you go to file your income tax return, the default form that will appear on your income tax website or income tax portal will be the new tax regime. You have to then in the drop down choose and say that you want to file returns under the old regime. So you have to manually opt for it, right? But otherwise, the default means that it will definitely be given to you straightforward.
That's a very, very valid point. So if I say have a home loan and claim deduction, does it make sense for me to move to the new regime?
No, absolutely not. If you have a home loan and if you're claiming interest as a deduction, then that facility itself is not available in the new one. So then by de facto, you need to go in the old one. Now, let me sort of add a little to that. So if your loan is, let's say, or just 7 years old, or when I say 7 years old, it's the last 7 years you've taken the loan, 7 to 8 years, you're still paying a significantly higher amount of interest in your annual EMI. When you multiply your EMI by a number of 12 so that you get your annual EMI figure, in that the interest component is still substantial if you're within the first 7 years of your loan, right? So which means you will be getting a lot of that as a deduction from your income tax. So I think by de facto, you should be going to the previous one. And that's actually also quite a reason where the finance minister has felt that a lot of people have been used to a certain method. They have been used to a certain style of, reporting their taxes and things like that. And these things were promised to them that you will get deduction if you buy a house, if you do this, if you do that, etc. So one doesn't want to suddenly put an end to all of that. So I think it's a gradual shift to go into the new regime. Everybody who's new joining the workforce will automatically go there by de facto. The previous regime, the previous generation will slowly move into it.
Right, right. Talking about investments, what are the new investment options as per the budget that's worth investing in? So let's break it down. Let's talk about the general public first, and then maybe we can talk about the senior citizens.
So see, for the general public, there's something special for all of you girls there, which the finance minister has announced that you can actually invest 2 lakhs for 2 years. There's a special deposit that has been created called the MSSC, and under which you get a 7.5%. It's not tax free, but it's 7.5% guaranteed for 2 years. It's just an additional incentive so that women come forward and, make some savings. In addition to that, if you were to do, like an MIS saving plan and postal MIS, then that limit has gone up from 9 lakhs to 15 lakhs. So if you wanted to make some investment there, you could do that.
And what about the investments for the senior citizens with respect to this budget?
So, in this budget, senior citizens have had like a gala time. So there used to be a product called Senior Citizen Savings Schemes, you see, wherein you could invest only up to 15 lakhs per person. Now, if you are a couple and you could do 30 lakhs previously, but now you can do 60 lakhs, the investment limit has doubled. So for a whole 30 additional lakhs, you can earn that interest income of about 7% or so. And therefore, you'll have 2 more lakhs guaranteed income coming into your household. So in one stroke, in some sense, your retirement planning problems and for your basic expenses might have been solved by this one move. So I think senior citizens have had it really nice this time around.
For our next section, let's do something fun. Let's assume that the deductions are 1,50,000 rupees, and I'll give you the per annum income of different slabs. So you tell me what would be the tax calculated under the old regime versus the new regime. I think this is something that will be very helpful to our viewers who are still on the edge about deciding what to do. So let's start with income up to 10 lakh. Like I said, the deductions are 1,50,000. So
yeah, that's a good thing that you did, because it becomes a complicated scenario because everyone's deductions are different. Correct. So what we are doing is Section ATC allows you deductions up to 1,50,000. Let's assume the person concerned has taken the entire one. So up to 10 lakhs. Now I've got a little chart which I've prepared here, and I'm just going to help you reading you out from here. So for a person earning 10 lakhs, under the new regime, he would pay 60,000 rupees as tax. And in the old regime, he would pay 82,500 rupees tax. So the new is better at 10 lakhs.
So what happens when it's the income is up to 12 lakhs?
So in a 12 lakh scenario, what is happening is under the new regime, a person would pay 90,000 as tax, and the old regime, he would pay 1,27,000 as tax.
Okay. 13 lakhs up to 13 lakhs?
Okay, so in a 13 lakh scenario, under the new regime, it's 1,10,000. Old regime is 1,57,500.
Right. Same going forward, 20 lakhs. Up to 20 lakhs.
So up to 20 lakhs, let's say up to 15 lakhs. Let's take a point of 15 lakhs.
Okay.
So up to 15 lakhs, the working is like this, that the person under the new regime will pay 1,15,000. And under the old regime, he would pay 2,17,000. So the difference is quite large for a 15 lakh.
So there is a significant difference.
Yes, you're right. There is a significant difference, but here we are only taking deductions at 1,50,000. So now let's sort of, if I may expand this a little bit. A lot of people have this 1,50,000 taken care of by their employee provident fund to a large extent. Then they do some other investment, LIC policies and some other insurance policies, PPF, etc. So 150, a large majority of the populace, they complete that. They not only that, then there is a big chunk of people who also take the NPS deduction of their additional 50,000, right?
Right.
And then what people have is a home loan also. Then people have medical insurances also. So instead of 1,50,000, let's say if we went to a situation where we actually were taking deductions to almost about 3.5 lakhs, yeah. In that scenario, the difference is not very large. The difference is quite narrow. Right. So if I'm on a 3,50,000 on a 10 lakh salary, the difference in the new regime, you would pay 60,000 versus in the old regime, you would pay only 42,500. So, the situation has flipped.
Yeah.
In that case. So if you're somebody who's got a lot of deductions, then it changes. In the same way, let's say on a 12 lakh example, under the new regime, it's 90,000. And in the old regime, you would pay 82,500 as tax. So see, the old regime is suddenly becoming better as your deductions are higher. So which means if you have lesser deductions, then go for that. Which also means that today, if you're a new worker, you can be under the new regime, couple of years. Then let's say you decide to buy a house and you take a home loan. So when you've taken the home loan, go and switch back to the old regime because your tax is lower. So you can
Oh,
actually play around, literally.
that's very, very helpful. And to our audience, I think it helps you in making up your mind whether you want to stick to the old tax regime, move on to the new tax regime, uh, and also the investments as per the new budget. So thank you so much, Kartik, for again coming on Market Makers.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.